Scotland is about to vote in a referendum on whether to sever the ties of a union going back 3 centuries with England. Here I'm with Martin Wolf, Chief Economics Commentator, to discuss the implications of such a vote. Now, Martin, can Scotland declare independence and keep the pound?
I think the answer to that is yes, but the question is on what terms and how. The Scottish government under Alex Salmond has made it clear that they want a true currency union. They want a fully shared currency with access to the Bank of England, essentially as if nothing had happened. And that can't work in that way. What would have to happen, since Scotland would be notionally fiscally independent, the rest of the country must be concerned that Scotland would then become a free rider, because it could have a large and bloated financial system, it could pursue relatively irresponsible fiscal policies, and people might well believe that the Bank of England would ultimately bail it out, that there's going to be a bailout of this. That can't be allowed to happen, so the rest of the UK would have to impose very, very tight controls on Scottish financial institutions and Scottish budget, so it wouldn't really be independence at all. Now, there is an alternative. It's called a currency board or sterlingization, which is just they use the pound without actually having any access to the central bank. Right. It's like Panama. But then, of course, they've got a lot of debt in Scotland. They would end up, I think, with a lot of debt. That's itself a debate. And I think that will be a fiscally very, very difficult situation to run. But they could do that, but there will be no Bank of England backstop.
It's also true that the big lesson of the euro crisis is that you can't have a currency union without some form of political union.
Well, there's no question that, and I've just indicated at least one aspect of that there would have to be very, very strong fiscal disciplines, for example. Now, you could think of that as a political union, but because it would be one-sided, because the rest of UK doesn't need to accept these disciplines. It can't be a free rider on this because it's 90% of it. So it's impossible to be a free rider. It's Scotland that could be a free rider. So for this reason, it will be a one-sided control. Well, you could say that's a bit of what's happening in Europe. The Germans are exerting control over everybody else. Is the rest of the Eurozone really independent? Not very, I would say. Well, Scotland would be even less independent in this situation.
Right. Now, all 3 political leaders who are now somewhat belatedly campaigning in Scotland against independence have said that it won't work. Scots can't share the currency. And also the governor of the Bank of England, Mark Carney, has made that clear this week. If so, is Mr. Salmond, though, right? Are they bluffing?
No, for the reasons I've suggested, I really don't believe it. Certainly, I hope that they're not bluffing. As I said, there are terms on which we could have a currency union. There's no doubt there are terms, but these are terms in which Scotland would be a local government. It really wouldn't be an independent state. To be an independent state, I think Scotland would have to sever its existing links with sterling and possibly, perhaps probably, introduce a new floating currency. It's important to add, by the way, if there is that fear, and I think it's very clear there is that fear, it's going to create absolute turmoil in banking, capital movements. And in fact, we're already beginning to see that right now, because people are going to say, if we lend to the Scots, what money are they going to pay me back in? What is the value of these loans? And if I hold sterling in Scotland, now I'd say, well, I don't know what's going to happen in Scotland. I'm going to move it south. And this is going to create a really big challenge, which will get worse, of course, after yes vote, if that's what happens, to the Bank of England. How is it going to handle this situation in managing the existing monetary union with Scotland when we know overwhelmingly likely it's going to end?
Martin Wolf, thank you very much.
Pleasure.